Joliet,
Here.
Jackson,
Here.
Loops is here.
Present.
Kokendorfer is absent with notice. Nelson,
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
So next up, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up, we'll move on to the approval of the committee minutes dated on November 1st of 2022. If there aren't any corrections or changes, do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Loop, support by Commissioner Joliet. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Next up, we'll move on to the approval of our agenda. Again, if there aren't any changes or corrections, do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Loop, support by Commissioner Jackson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Next up, we'll move on to our first public comment. As a reminder, this is for items that are related to the agenda this morning. So at this time, I'd like to open up public comment, and if there's anyone from the public who would like to address the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee, please make your way down to the end of the table. All right, seeing that there is no one from the public who would like to speak, I will close our first public comment. Next up, we'll move on to item number 7, which our first item is a presentation by Mr. Harold L. Taylor II with Communities in Schools. So at this time, I'd like to bring Mr. Harold up to the table. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you to the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Program for suggesting I even be here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. My name is Harold Taylor. I am the Director of Partnerships and Volunteers for Communities in Schools of Michigan. I'm going through this presentation, and a lot of times there's still questions afterwards what exactly we do as an organization, but hopefully the presentation will give you some insight. Then I'll kind of finalize with actual detailed information about how we operate within schools. We're gonna skip past the video. Our values: collaboration, equity, accountability, excellence, and integrity. Pretty good values to have as an organization, especially working with students across the board, all different types of races, genders. We are known as an anti-racist organization, so we actually go through different modules and programming to instill anti-racism and full of diversity and inclusion in our programming as staff and with students. Our mission is to surround students with a community of students with a community of support and empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. Our North Star: we fuel personal potential so every student can take charge of their story and define their own success in life. And we believe that relationships are the cornerstone to unlocking a student's potential. We succeed by including in our strategies, ingraining in our culture, and reflecting in our anti-racist behaviors, principles, and practices of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is us at a glance. We are a national organization. Our affiliate here in Michigan is CIS of Michigan, but as you can see, we are in 26 states across the country, and that's over 117 organizations. Over 1.6 million students are reached and are provided supports and resources. We do a lot of parent engagement across the country. A lot of volunteer time is contributed, $8 million worth. So there's a lot that goes into the programming that we have across the nation. Specifically here in Michigan, we've been in Michigan for over, I think it's 25 years now. Our state office has been for 10 years. I've been with the program for 15 years. And I must say in my 15-year tenure that this is an awesome organization that really implements good, strong supports into our schools and communities. This is some of our Michigan data. It says 52 schools served, but this is last year's data, so now we're in actually over 80 across the state. Whole school support hours, over 5,000, over 600 case managed students. That's that one-on-one relationship that really matters with our students in the schools. A lot of our students are called high intensity cases, which means that there's maybe chronic absenteeism or a very bad behavior issue that needs to be dealt with. A lot of good data there. And this is our model, and this is how it works. We're the CIS affiliate, of course, and then we have in-school staff called site coordinators or student support coordinators. And we work with collaborative partners. That's the local grocery store. That's even corporate partners like DTE Energy and things like that. And we work with those organizations to implement programming into the schools. We do what's called a needs assessment upon entering the building. What that is, that's a survey of students, staff, administration, community members, parents, asking the question, what does the school need? What is it that it does it need mentoring? Does it need more tutoring? What is it that's needed? So based on that data, we comprise what's called a school support plan. And our site coordinators or school-based staff, we begin implementing that plan based on that data. So pretty much, if, let's say the school says, you know what, our boys are they're out of control. We need male mentoring. So my job as the director of partnerships is to find the right male mentoring group, vet them, train them, and get them into the school to help support our students. And that could look a whole bunch of ways. So it doesn't have to necessarily be just a mentoring group. It could be also, I'm a performing artist by trade, so when I was in the schools, I would do something like start a step team with boys. And within that, we begin mentoring, we'd be looking at grades, we begin to do all types of programming that would help with the mentoring piece, but it would also help in other areas as well, okay? And then once we get that going, we monitor the progress. We're looking at each individual student that we're working with on that case load to see, okay, are the grades improving? Is the behavior improving? And then we kind of adjust services based on that. So in that end of the school year, we do an evaluation of each one of our partners. We do evaluation of all of our programming to see what's working and what's not working. And so that, in a nutshell, that's how we work our program. For our student support coordinators, like I said, we do the needs assessment, we do support planning, and we have 3 tiers of support. And I'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later, but there's 3 tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1 is whole school. Those are the assemblies you went to as a student, like you were ready to get out of class. Somebody come to the auditorium like, yeah, no test today, right? Tier 2 is small group. And tier 3 is one-on-one individualized support. These are some of the things that we kind of our monikers that we go by: express care, challenge growth, provide support, share power, expand possibilities. So that tier 3 piece, that one-on-one relationship, that's where all the grit goes. That's where all the time and the energy goes to, where we're trying to make sure that this particular student takes a step forward in the correct direction. In schools and beyond, so it's not just we're in the school and we're just gonna make our name made in the school. No, we actually go out into the communities. We're partnering with the local church. In Dearborn, we partner with the local mosque. You know, we're partnering with these other organizations, like I said, the grocery store or the Best Buy or the Target or the Little Caesars, to make sure that all of these basic needs are met for our students. We're partnering with these other community organizations that can come in and provide programming as well. And our collaborative partners are a big piece of who we are, because we can't do it all ourselves. So what's unique about our organization, and we're not trying to save everybody ourselves. We know that we need outside organizations. We know we need Oakland County Parks and Rec to provide programming for some of our students after school or even during school. We know that we need to reach out and make sure that other organizations have a way into the school as well. We also work within the school to build a community. So we have school support teams. So a school support team may look like our CIS school-based staff, along with maybe a counselor or 2, gym teacher, music teacher, whoever is willing to sit back and take a look back and try to look at like school improvement. So it's not necessarily a school improvement team, it's a school support team. Let's all put our heads together to figure out how we can allow the school to move forward. Are there specific students that need to be targeted? Are there families that need to be helped? So on and so forth. And these are some of the supports we provide: academic assistance, college and career prep, which is a big one, community and service learning, enrichment, mental health, which is huge now, physical health, basic needs, family engagement, behavioral interventions, and life skills. And once again, here are these 3 supports. So that tier 1 is all students, so there is a possibility that every student in the school can be reached. Once again, those are those assemblies. And then the case managed students, that's that tier 3 piece, that one-on-one involvement. These are just some testimonies. We are in the Dearborn School District, across the state in Battle Creek. Not too many people have anything bad to say about us. We are currently in Oakland County. That's the reason why I'm here. We have just expanded into Oakland County. We're at Pontiac High School and Middle School, and I think there's elementary school as well. We're at Ferndale High School and Middle School, and Oak Park Preparatory Academy, as well as Oak Park High School. So, and all those are new this year. So, and we plan on expanding even more as years go by. But we are trying to make our presence known in Oakland County and trying to let other organizations know what we're doing so we can get some partnerships going so we can support these students as much as possible.
Commissioner Gershenson?
I'm sorry, were you done?
Well, I can be.
You can finish it. No, that's okay. I just wanted to put my name in the queue to ask you a question.
Okay, sure thing. Let me skip. Oh, yeah, I am.
You're done. Okay, then I'm done. So I love the idea. I think it's a great program. I'm just trying to figure out, are you here to just inform us
to
about this?
inform.
Okay, so do you have a contract with Parks and Rec?
No.
No.
So how we came about, like I said, my job is to reach out to community partners. So I pretty much do with Google search and things of that sort. We do partner with Detroit Parks and Recs. So one of my first moves as we moved into Oakland County was to reach out to Oakland County Parks and Recs.
So will you eventually try to have a contract with them for your services, or how does it work?
So it won't be so much a contract, so to speak. We do partnership agreements. So if we do work on something together, like we talked about possible employment for our high school students, or even trying to get some programming to get some of our students to Parks and Recs during the nice months and things like that, we'll develop a partnership agreement that kind of entails what each organization will do, and we'll go from there.
Got it. And are you looking to be partners with Oakland County so there, I don't know how to differentiate. Our Oakland County government, are you looking to have a contractual relationship or an agreement with
Not necessarily. I believe that my place here is to simply inform and get the word out. That is an interesting question. A whole lot of ideas going on in my head about
I'm sure.
government and things of that sort. So that's something we can definitely talk about as far as maybe some type of programming, some type of mentoring, perhaps. There's always those career days and things of that sort when we don't necessarily need a partnership agreement for that. But I'm very, very creative, so it's a whole bunch of stuff going through my head right now about the possibilities.
And then do you have a relationship with Oakland Intermediate Schools?
Not officially, no. No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Loops, followed by Commissioner Jackson.
Do you work with regular ed and special ed kids?
Yes, it does. When we get into the school helps us figure out who our case managed students are going to be. So it ranges from what the need is. We provide so many different services. We're doing a lot of mobile food pantries at our schools. We do coat drives, things of that sort. The main reason why I'm here in Oakland County is because, like I said, we're fresh and new here. So a lot of the resources we're not privy to just yet. So I would like to kind of get the word out and see if anybody has any information to share with us so that we can reach out to some local organizations to see how they can support our students. But we work with any and everybody that needs the support.
And the schools you are in now, so you have agreements with the individual schools?
Yes, yes.
Do they have to have it approved by their school boards?
I'm sure they do, because there is a price involved and whatnot, so I'm sure the school board has to approve it. All that's above my pay grade. But yeah, I'm sure there's some type of presentation to the Board of Education and whatnot, and they decide how to pilot and whatnot. One of the biggest needs we're dealing with now in all of our Oakland County schools is the need for winter clothing. So I'm actually Director of Partnerships for this side of the state, not just Oakland County. So we've started a winter clothing drive that, so people have been dropping off coats and clothes and things of that sort. So we're gonna try to divvy them up between our different schools and whatnot. But there's been a great need in Oakland County, once again, because we're new. So people are starting fresh with no clothing closets and things of that sort. So we're trying to build all of that up right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Mr., what's your name?
Taylor, Harold Taylor.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
I was gonna pose the same question, but Commissioner Lubes asked you about Pontiac, Oak Park, and Ferndale and how you are operating. So you have agreements with the individual schools.
Yes.
You mentioned something that piqued my interest when you said that you were performing artists.
Yes.
And how do you see that work, the work of the creators fitting into your help and programs that you might be offering some of the students?
Okay. So for me, and I started off as a volunteer. And I volunteered at my first school as an accompanist for the music teacher. It was my kids' school, and so then I was introduced to communities and schools afterwards. But because of the work I was doing, the principal was like, well, keep that going. So it became something of mine. Instead of just looking at it like, well, I'm playing the piano or teaching music, let's expand it. Let's expand the possibilities. So like I said earlier, the STEP team came about, which started off as detention for boys. So why are we just sitting here doing nothing? Let's do something with accountability. So we developed a STEP team, then that spread to a girl STEP team and just kept going. The different sites that I've been at, Southeastern High School in Detroit, I got there was no music program. So I said, hey, why not? Let's start up a choir. Had about 25 kids in the choir, and we began to sing across the district. And within that, there's accountability piece. Okay, to go sing at this school, I need to see attendance, I need to see grades, and nobody's getting suspended and things of that sort. So to participate in the programming, it's a give and take. So the students have to have a sense of accountability and responsibility to not only what program they're in, but actually their schoolwork. So and that's the goal. We don't do things like you can still be in it no matter what. No, we have to make sure that they're accountable for the action. So in my experience, that was the best way for me, because like I said, I love doing performing arts and things of that sort. We did a lot of like Black History productions when I was in Ypsilanti, and became a big thing for the community. But there were certain standards that the students had to keep to make sure that they were in their classes. And we also get an opportunity to get grades. Like I would talk to teachers. If this student does this speech on stage, will you allow them to get a grade for it? Sure. We work with teachers and staff to make sure that they're getting that whole child, that well-rounded support. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does, and it also points to the need of that type of assistance. You know, as we're in discussions right now, you know, a group about funding a creative arts collaborative, maybe possibly countywide. Second thing was, you mentioned the coat drive and basic needs. So you do assist with housing, clothing, shelter,
Yes.
feeding
Yes.
as well. So there's room there as well.
Yeah, we have a partnership with Gleaners Community Food Bank. And we used to have it at Pontiac High School during the pandemic, but at that time there were so many food banks at the time. We kind of moved it to one of our schools in Dearborn. But yes, like I said, we do have a partnership with them. We do our best to even connect with other agencies that do that to make sure that parents know, hey, you can still go here and this and that. So we don't proclaim ourselves as we solve all the problems. Like I said, we do reach out to other organizations and agencies. We do a resource guide for each county that we do. So it's like, okay, you can go here on Tuesday, go there on Thursday, go here on Friday, and we do our best to try to make sure that they have everything they need.
And the resource guide is already in publication?
We're working on one for the winter, for over winter break, but we have one for the summer And we gave it out to all of our students.
And it would be nice if you could maybe offer those to us,
Sure
our
thing.
board. You
Okay.
know, they would make sure that each one of us gets one.
Will do.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
I think that's all for now. Oh, well, one more.
Okay.
You're here and you said kind of, and looking at potential opportunities with Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
Have you also approached our municipal, because a lot of our cities that we represent also have robust local
Okay.
Parks and Rec departments?
Okay.
So maybe it could be a dual approach, I don't know.
Yeah,
What
that we
works
definitely help make
best?
those connections, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Right, thank you.
All right, thank you,
Appreciate
Mr. Taylor.
Well, Mr. Taylor, we greatly appreciate you being here today. I thoroughly enjoyed myself learning a little bit more about communities and schools. I taught in public schools for 15 years, and I
Okay.
was a Tier 1 supports provider. So I most certainly understand the whole concept of those wraparound services. I mean,
Yeah.
truly, the concept of wraparound services truly puts a student right at the center and their families. So I'm looking forward to learning more
Okay.
about communities and schools. The one question I do have is, how do you evaluate and measure the success of the program?
Okay, so we do have our own data management system. So at the beginning of the school year, every student that we case manage, their grades and attendance and behavior report is put into the system. So that way, and every card marking is updated. So let's say if Johnny had a B in math last year, so first card marking, we're looking, did it go up or down? So that's how we track progress and whatnot. And we also have a simple tab that says, did they progress, or did they stay the same, or did they decline? So
I'm sure graduation rates,
graduation
You
rates,
utilize
it was on there,
graduation rates,
96, nationally 96% graduation rate.
awesome.
Personally, for me, when I was working at high schools, you know, it's hard to fight for graduation rates going up because there's so many factors that hinder.
Out of your control.
Yeah, but if we can get them across that stage and expose them to life after high school, then it's possible. So we've come up with partnerships with Detroit Job Corps and places like that. So it's not always go to Harvard, it's not always just college, but there's trades, there's other alternatives and things of that sort. So we're trying to push all of that to make sure our students get across the stage.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you
Commissioners.
leave your contact information with us?
Yes, I do have cards.
That'd be
Thank
great.
you.
Would that work?
That'd be
Yep.
great,
All right.
absolutely.
Thank you all for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much as well.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do we have a motion to receive and file the presentation? Motion by Commissioner Loop, support by Commissioner Gershenson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Communities and school presentation has been filed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, and next up under our presentation, item B, we have our Parks and Recreation, presentation of fiscal year 2023, summer and seasonal employee incentive. So welcome, Melissa.
Good morning. Well, first of all, I just want to say that after we submitted this, I think we learned that the board doesn't actually need to approve the incentives, but we wanted to make sure it came back to you as an information item, in part to thank you for, the incentives that you approved for us last year that really turned around our hiring for the season, and to let you know what we're planning for this coming year. So in your packet, there is, I believe it's now page 30, there's a summary of the incentives that we had for 2022. I think the total was around $120,000 that we paid out in incentives last year, which is a lot, but it also helped us actually open all of our facilities for the season. So it really, within 2 weeks, I think, of those incentives being posted, we had doubled the number of applicants that we had. So it really is impactful, and it's something that, we're going to continue to do for this coming year and continue to evaluate, the expense of that versus the benefit of the staff that we're getting in and make sure that it's working for us financially. But for now it is. So for what we're planning for 2023 is kind of 3 different incentives. The first, which we didn't do last year, is a returning worker incentive. With Parks and Recreation, we start putting out our applications or our posting our positions in February, March to try to get people in for the summer season. We start training in the spring. So getting that early commitment and knowing that people are coming back saves us a lot of anxiety and time and energy trying to get people in or knowing where we're going to be at so we know how to recruit. So we are looking at a $300 kind of early signing bonus if they commit to coming back to us by April 1st. The second portion of that is, of course, focused on our lifeguards, which is where we have the most critical shortages, as there is nationwide. So we're increasing that just slightly for this year. We're doing the same $300 incentive if you take and pass the training, which is obviously required. $500 incentive for those who work 150 hours, and then an additional $500 incentive if they work 250 hours or through the end of the season. So that's potentially a $1,300 bonus to be a summer lifeguard for us for the season. And then we also have a bunch of other seasonal positions that I know you're aware of that are maybe not as hard to fill as the lifeguards, but are still a challenge, and we still scramble every year. So for those, we're going to do a $300 bonus at 150 hours, and then another $200 bonus when you hit 250 hours. So potential $500 bonus for those other positions as well. So that is what we're planning for next year. I know there's a total fiscal impact in there, says 250 to 450,000. That's a very conservative kind of like, if every employee got every incentive, that's potentially where we would be. Last year, I think we topped out around 120,000. So somewhere in that range is probably where we'll be for next year too.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Gershenson?
And where does that money come from?
It comes, we have some favorability in our salaries, which is where it came from this last year. So as long as that continues to.
So it's out of the parks budget?
It is, yep.
Well, I'm just blown away. I mean, for so many years, we've heard parks suffering. And it's interesting. I think it's a new world where incentives are the name of the game. Because
They are.
even with our gun buyback, we gave incentives. And, of course, people came to us and said, well, why don't we do this for free then? And you know what? It is an incentive world.
Yep,
and
it
I'm
is.
really proud of the returning employees incentive.
Yeah.
I think that's really keeping your eye right on the ball. Congratulations. I think it's a great way to go. And to the fact that all our parks were open and functioning this year, that's amazing.
Yeah, so hopefully with this, we'll be able to open, the water parks, I think, didn't reach full capacity until kind of midsummer because we were still bringing people on. So hopefully with this approach, come June, I think 10th or 11th, we're looking to open. Hopefully we can open both water parks for the whole season.
Well, good luck and keep us in.
We
in the
will,
loop.
thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Loops?
I just want to share a success story that's related to the park. So there's a young man that I'm familiar with who loved the water and became a lifeguard and continued to return and had such a great experience. He joined the Navy, but it was directly related to his lifeguard experience.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome.
Yes. So what you do affects people positively, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
That's great.
Melissa, I have one question. I know
Yeah.
that, we've learned and we've talked about with the lifeguards, we know that that's always been an area of
Mhm.
struggle. Is there other areas within parks that you're seeking a lesser, or that you're trying to increase the employment?
So the other kind of main area that we struggle is our recreation programs and services. The folks that are out with the bouncers and the climbing
Yeah.
towers and the stages and all of that kind of moving around the county all summer. It's based out of Waterford, so people kind of need to come to Waterford and then be dispersed. So it's hard to get employees from further reaches within the county to come to Waterford for that role. So that's one that we've struggled with a little bit as well. But the incentives, again, last year, we were pretty much fully staffed. So we're hoping that stays the case.
Well, I appreciate that insight and information on this. I think it's already been spoken that we're really excited to move forward into 2023 with such success that we had in 2022. So thank you for being here today and providing an update. Commissioners, is there any other questions? Alrighty.
I have a question.
Commissioner Jackson.
As far as this program, would this program be a potential candidate for a NACO award, or is that just us as a board and what we're doing? Because I think that it could really be honored, duplicated nationally.
Yeah, we can look into that. I know
think that's a really great point.
we've submitted NACO nominations in the
have,
past.
okay.
Yeah, I'll
other
have,
departments can in a county.
I'll have our communications folks look into it. That's a great
Absolutely.
idea.
Yeah,
It's a great suggestion.
be a
Commissioner.
good model across the country.
Commissioners, do we have a motion to receive and file this information? Motion by Commissioner Joliet, support by Commissioner Jackson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item has been filed and received. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. We're gonna
Thank
keep
you.
you up here, given we've got a couple other items. We're gonna bounce on now to our regular agenda. We have a Parks Item A, grant acceptance from the Michigan Department of Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy for the Enhancing Regional European Frog Bit Responses Project. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Lewis, support by Commissioner Joliet.
Thank you. I'm going to bring up Sarah Cook-Malin, who is our Chief of Natural Resources and Sustainability. So she is our kind of guru on all things invasive species related. If you want to just give a quick summary of European frog bit and what this grant is.
Sure, yeah, so it's a new invasive species in Oakland County. It's been here for a couple of years. It's mostly found in the Novi area in retention ponds, but it has spread a little bit within that same area. It's a priority species for the state. They're very focused on control of frog bit and not letting it get to other water bodies, both in Oakland County and in the state. So they received priority funding from the federal government to fund treatment and to finalize survey protocols for frog bit to make sure that we understand the reach of the infestation and also that we are controlling it. So they are really focused, the state, focused on local organizations implementing projects that will control frog bit. So this is part of their statewide approach for frog bit control.
And if you look, I think it's page 56 of your packet, there's a picture, just if you're curious what it looks like.
It looks kind of like a miniature water lily.
Yeah.
So like if you see water lilies on ponds, it looks kind of like a little miniature water lily, but it's not connected under the water, so it kind of floats on the top. It'd be kind of similar. There's like some things that are a little bit smaller, but it's probably like a quarter size, about that size. You probably won't see it, hopefully, unless you're in the Novi area. But it's definitely something to keep your eye out for. There's some great training resources on the Oakland County SISMA website and on the state website.
Excellent. Commissioner Loops.
Where did it come from?
So I don't know exactly. It probably came from people doing like some sort of landscaping. So a lot of times people bring them in for either landscaping purposes or like unintentionally, right? So they'd accidentally bring it in like fill material that they're using for construction projects, or someone would accidentally bring it in as like, you know, a project or something. So I don't know exactly how it got in the retention ponds, but that would be, my guess is that they probably had it for like a landscaping purpose, and then it like either through like overflowing through like a stormwater event, then got into the retention pond spread it somewhere else. And then once it gets in enough water bodies, then obviously, you know, anglers, recreational boaters, people are carrying it to other locations as well.
Thank you, that makes sense.
Commissioner Joliet.
Thank you. Do you know how they're controlling it? What they're going to do?
It's a chemical control application, and we've been doing the chemical control for the past 2 years. So we had a previous grant from the Michigan DNR that was a competitive grant for control. So we've been surveying and doing control for the past 2 years. It's a chemical that's specifically for frog bit, so it is very effective at control. We have a contractor who does the chemical applications for us. But yeah, it's very effective when they do the control. The biggest issue right now is getting permissions from the landowners to actually get access to the sites where the frog bit is.
Okay. I'm being from Waterford, we have 32 lakes, and just hopefully it doesn't get that far,
Yes,
but
yes.
it's curious.
So
All right.
that is the goal. We would like to survey it and control it in Novi so that it doesn't get to Waterford.
Thank you.
Well, I think it goes without saying, we greatly appreciate the work that Parks does in general to help eliminating the introduction and spread of invasive species. So I'm in complete support of this and look forward, moving forward to hear more, because I'm sure, did we get this grant in the past? Is this?
We've had a similar grant through the Oakland County SISMA had a grant to do frog bit
Yes.
control from DNR
Yes.
through the Michigan Invasive Species Grant Program. It's not non-competitive, but it is money that the federal government gave to DNR to specifically control frog bit. So they got priorities from all of the SISMAs across Michigan. All of the SISMAs, those are cooperative invasive species management areas, submitted priorities. And so it is competitive somewhat, but they're mostly giving the money because they really think that frog bit is a priority species. So they're directing the money toward priority areas.
I love it. Let's keep the money coming down. Commissioner Gershenson.
Just one last thing. This is our new commissioner, Dr. Ajay Raman, and he represents parts of Novi.
Okay.
So you might want to give him your card, or vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely reach out and we can chat about it over there. You can help us get all those landowner permissions.
Commissioners, is there any further questions on this item? Seeing none, please prompt the vote for regular agenda item A.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Next up, we're gonna move on to agenda item B, which is the grant acceptance from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources fiscal year 2023 Off-Road Vehicle Trail Improvement Fund Award. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Lutz, support by Commissioner Jackson. Again, welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. So this is a grant program that you probably recognize. We apply to this program every year, and the DNR has been very generous. This is the funding that kind of got the ORV park up and running and then continues to fund development as we need out there. So this is a $100,000 grant to develop a kind of a joint beginner and youth riding area at the park. That's something people have been asking for since we opened. You know, and the more youth we get involved, the more customers we'll have in the future. So it's kind of a rider development program for us. And the beginner riding area will really just be for anyone who wants to come out but is maybe a little intimidated by what's out at the park and just wants kind of a safe and easy, you know, obstacles and amenities to maneuver around on. So we're thinking this will probably include a small pavilion as well. So if people want to do actual trainings, bring in the DNR to do their youth trainings and that sort of thing, we'll have the facilities to do that. So there's no match. They're fully funding the project. So we're actually, I think it's already underway at this point. Like we had to get going pretty quick so that we could get it all done and get it open by next spring when the park opens.
Excellent. Commissioners, any other questions, comments in regards to this item? Commissioner Lubes?
I love that idea.
Me
When we
too.
were at the grand opening, it went on 2 different rides. One was driven by an Oakland County Sheriff, which was nice and sedate. And the second one was by a young race car driver, and I didn't know that until afterwards. And one of the hills we went up was this way, and it's like, oh my God.
But it doesn't even faze them. Doesn't
No,
even.
it
Yeah.
didn't. Thank you. Yes, it was amazing. Thank you.
Excellent. Seeing that there's no other questions or comments, please prompt the vote on item number B, or item B.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Next up, we'll move on to item number C, which is the grant application with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Sparks Grant Program for the Capella Oaks Health and Wellness Park Improvement Projects. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Lubes, support by Commissioner Jackson. And again, welcome again, Melissa.
Thank you again. So this is, if you're not familiar with the DNR Spark grants, this is the ARPA funding that was given to the DNR. So they're kind of spreading it around the state through this Spark grant program. We are lucky in essentially that we already have a wonderful ARPA plan put together for the improvements that we'd like to make in our parks, and we know where we want to direct extra funding that might be available. So we are applying for $450,000 grant for the improvements that we want to make at Catalpa Oaks, specifically the removal of one of the baseball diamonds that's not very heavily used and replacing it with a basketball court, a pickleball court, and sort of a hardscaped seating and shaded area in between. So, you know, the goal of the program is to get more people outside in as many ways as possible, and this is something that we've been hearing from the Southfield community that they'd really like to see at Catalpa Oaks. So we're kind of leaning into the fact that that really is a sports park, kind of an athletic park. So we think that these amenities will be much appreciated there. So we're putting in a $50,000 match and hope to receive $450,000.
Excellent. Well, Melissa, I love the community engagement aspect of that. I think it's so important that you listen to the voices of the people that are actually going to utilize that predominantly in the community. And we know that people come from all over Oakland County to enjoy our parks, but I definitely see significant value in that. And Parks has always historically done a well job with making sure that they are reaching out and getting that feedback from residents. The only question I have is where in the world did this pickleball concept come from? It is like the hot,
Right.
new, leisure activity. Where did pickleball come from?
You know what? I don't actually know what the history of pickleball is, but we do know that everyone we talk to asks us for it, and you're seeing it pop up in all of the communities within the county, and they're playing it at the platform tennis at Waterford Oaks.
Yes.
So every park that we are looking at doing some sort of redevelopment in, it has come up as something that people are interested in. I haven't played it myself, but I know it's a fast-paced, easy to learn, smaller court. Kind of just the right amount of physical activity for a lot of people. So.
Well, all I know is people want their pickleball court. So I love that we're moving forward with making sure that we are listening to that. Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, I do play pickleball.
Oh.
And I love
great.
it. And I was a former tennis player, so I think
Yes.
you kind of move into it.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's
I've
our
heard
seniors that brought it up, because it is a more senior-friendly, very social
Yeah.
kind of a game. But you're right, it's everywhere. A lot of clubs are converting. But let's see, I had a different question, and and I
circle
forgot.
back.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jackson.
I just want to echo our chair and just really, really, really thank you and thinking this through and really giving the park, Catawba Park, continued revitalization, because at one time, and there's nothing wrong with soccer moms, all the above, it was just soccer.
Yes.
And that was it.
Yep.
But the community wanted much more. And where it's situated is just so inclusive of not just Southfield, but Berkeley,
Yep.
and going into Birmingham. And so it's just, and then we have our health department there.
Yeah, right
So
there.
then that's exposed to our residents as well. So thank you, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you.
And I appreciate Gary's here too, the work, because I know it's a collaborative effort with the board. So appreciate it all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gershenson.
I remembered, I wanted to thank you for putting in a shaded area, because Catalpa is open.
Yes, it is.
And it's great to have an area where people that don't want to sit in the sun
Yeah.
can be. So I think that's great.
Thanks.
Any further questions or comments on item number C? Seeing none, please prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Melissa. and
Thank you.
Presenting a few items. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Good news.
Happy holidays.
Next up, item number D, which is a board resolution with the Rochester Hills Public Library for library services agreement extension. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Loop, support by Commissioner Gershenson. This item is to, we have Patty, yeah, please make your way to the head of the table, sure. This is a request to extend the library services agreement with Rochester Hills Public Library, which is not to exceed $26,440 for the library for the visually and physically impaired. So I'm gonna turn it over to our Chief of Staff and Analyst, Amy.
So we had a small internal group working on this contract because it was 10 years old and it had, gone for quite a long time and things have changed radically. So we wanted to make sure we did our due diligence. So the group was Amy and also Andrea, who has some subject matter expertise. So we've been working on, we put an RFP out for the services and we got a response, and we're working on making sure that all the elements that we are looking for and all the policies and practices that we have implemented here are followed. So we needed a little extension so that we could complete that and have continuous service without, some sort of abrupt ending.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershenson and followed by Commissioner Loops.
So I am a big supporter of this library. Has the library chair or whatever her position, has she been informed about a 2-month extension?
Yes, the executive director. You can-
Yeah, so we had a meeting with her maybe a week or two ago to discuss the timeline and everything. She's supportive of the 2-month extension while we continue to work through the deals on the RFP.
So are we thinking they're going to house it, or did the RFP reveal another library that we're looking at? Or
We
is
only
that-
got one response, which was from Rochester, and.
Okay, so they're going to get it?
Right.
And they understand that?
Right, so we are just
Got it.
working through the details.
Right, I just was a little put off that it was 2 months. I didn't understand that, but
Oh,
as
no,
long
it's,
as
this
they're-
is a 2-month extension, I'm sorry for
Yeah,
interrupting.
this is, so because of the holidays and her need to go to her board and their meeting schedule and everything, we just wanted to make sure we went with a conservative approach with the 2-month extension while we work through to make sure, because of your meeting schedule, her meeting
No, I
schedule.
get it. I'm thrilled. I just was a little, I'm sure that we were only doing it for 2 months, but we're doing it for the long term.
Yeah, this is-
Adding 2 months.
Okay.
Yes.
So that during
Got
this
it.
interim time, we can, make sure we get the,
Got it.
Yeah,
the
we're
contract right.
extending the existing contract 2 months.
Got it. Thank you.
So just with clarification with that, Commissioner Gershon, you have some good questions. I fully support this agreement. With the 2-month extension, I know it goes, to February 2023. After that, will this committee receive another item?
Most likely, yeah, so when we have the new contract negotiated, that item will come to the committee.
Okay, so there's not necessarily negotiation happening in this 2-month extension, or is there?
There is.
There is, okay,
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the need for the extension.
okay.
Yeah, to
It's-
make sure that there's consistency and continuity of service.
Well, I appreciate the update on this,
Did you
and
have a question?
I think we all can agree that this is a really important program. I know that we've heard from residents across Oakland County in the past in regards to this program, and more recently, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but there were emails that have gone out with supporting this program as well. So I'm happy to have this part of our agenda today and look forward to the future conversations on this as well. Commissioners, any other questions or comments in regards to this item? Commissioner Lubes?
I also think it's a most valuable service to provide to people. And I'm glad Commissioner Gershenson asked questions. I was wondering about the amount of money, if that was enough, but that's the money for the 2-month extension.
Right.
So,
Correct.
perfect. All right, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Please prompt the vote on item 8D. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries. Next up, we'll move on to item E, which is the appointment of the Oakland County Building Authority. The Oakland County Building Authority finances the construction of local projects through the limited tax general obligation bonds consistent with Public Act 31 of 1948. The Building Authority may build, acquire, furnish, equip, own, improve, enlarge, lease, operate, and maintain county facilities where a legitimate public purpose of the county is served. Our purpose today is we have a vacancy or an expiration on this authority board. The authority consists of 5 members. We have the county executive or a designee, the county treasurer or a designee, and then 3 members appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and the members serve for 3-year terms with mileage reimbursement, which is provided by the county. Our task today is to discuss how we would like to move forward with filling this vacancy. I'm happy to say that Jamel is the individual who presently is sitting in the seat that is going to become vacant, and she is seeking reappointment. As roles and responsibilities of this committee, we can move forward with the reappointment of this individual, but we could also move forward with opening up interviews and applications. How would the committee like to recommend moving forward with this appointment? Commissioner Lubes.
How often does this committee meet?
It's at once, it's set on the, I think they meet once a month.
My
Uh,
jigger is moving now.
It's a
Per
great question.
diem.
But where I really want to go is have the executive and treasurer been comfortable and satisfied with the members on the board? And if so, I'm happy to reappoint.
Okay. I will say that we had a little blip in getting a new application. Unfortunately, we had the wrong contact information, the wrong contact phone number and email. So there will be a need, if we do move forward with reappointing this individual, to get a new application on file. I know Pam has already done some legwork behind the scenes to make that happen if this committee so shall choose to move forward with seeking the reappointment of Jamel Haig. Haig. Okay, Commissioner Gershenson.
Well, I'm comfortable reappointing as well, but I think maybe in the future, what would be good policy is when we look at these things is to talk to whoever the chair of the committee is and see how they're functioning, how often they're meeting, and the attendance of the designees, because that often can play a role in whether or not we reappoint.
Well, I think that's a great statement and stance to take. I don't disagree with that at all. What I do know is Mr. McPherson has shared that this individual who is seeking the reappointment, Jamel, she's been timely and a part of all the monthly meetings that have taken place. So from an attendance perspective, I know that's an important feature when we do look at appointments of any board to make sure that we have active individuals. So I can confirm from an attendance perspective, on point.
So I'd make a motion to reappoint.
Okay. Oh, okay, I was gonna. So Commissioner Gershenson makes the motion to reappoint Jamel Haig, who's seeking reappointment for the County Building Authority, and Commissioner Lubes has seconded that motion. Any discussion on this reappointment recommendation? Alrighty, seeing none, please prompt the vote for the recommendation of reappointment of Jamel Haig for the County Building Authority.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Next up, we'll move on to item number F, which is the appointment of the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission. At this time, the individuals whose seat is up to expire is Amanda Herzog, and she is also seeking reappointment. I can say that I've heard nothing but great things about Amanda, but again, it is the discretion of this committee to move forward with a reappointment or looking at the option of opening up applications and applying. Commissioner Lubes.
I know Amanda, and she enjoys the committee, and I believe it's a two-way street that the committee values her expertise, and I move to reappoint Amanda Herzog.
Okay, Commissioner Lubes moves to reappoint Amanda Herzog. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Joliet. Any other questions, comments in regards to this reappointment? Commissioner Joliet.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you know her. She's certainly very well qualified and has worked out well. So yeah, I'll support that.
All right. Seeing none, commissioners, please prompt the vote on the reappointment of Amanda Herzog for the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Next up, we'll move on to our last agenda item, item G, which is the appointment of the Road Commission for Oakland County. As we're all aware, that the Board of Oakland County Road Commission was formed and establishes Road Commission for Oakland County policies, administers the budget, and hires the managing director. The Road Commission of Oakland County is responsible for the maintenance of our county road systems, construction of new county roads, and improvement of existing roads. This board consists of 3 members appointed by the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. Members serve a 6-year term, and the chairperson's salary is $17,000, and each member of the board will and does receive $15,000. The individual whose appointment is expiring, Mr. Ron Folks, he is not seeking reappointment. I'm gonna actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna throw it to Mr. Gershenson with just a little background. I know you have some more background than most of us sitting at this table in regards to this body and how important this board really is.
Right. This is one of our most important appointments, and I know I have already been solicited by members of the public that are interested in this. And considering we're now forming a committee to look at the road commission structure, I think it's incumbent upon us to do interviews or put this out. I think that we are always looking for somebody that has a background in engineering or roads, and we don't always get it. But I would recommend posting this. I'm wondering, in addition to the salary, do they also get medical benefits too? Do you know?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Okay. So I would recommend that this be posted. And so his term would be up January 1, I would imagine?
His term is up on 12/31/2022. We aren't up against getting something together before our board meeting next week.
We are or we are not?
We're not. So the idea today, I wholeheartedly agree, Commissioner, that I think that with this appointment and many others that have gone through this committee, that it is wise and important to move forward with opening up an application process and moving forward very similar to how we've done with other appointments and conducting interviews. This is a really important board, and I think as we move into the future, it's essential and critical to the work that we do here at the board. So I wholeheartedly agree that moving forward with opening up for applications and interviewing is the best.
So that won't happen then until January,
That is correct.
correct? So just for Dr. Rahman, this is the committee that would be doing those interviews. And it is one of the most important positions that we do recommend. So they're fine, the road commission is fine, they won't have anybody in place for January.
They will not. The idea is that as I anticipate timelines, I would like to move forward with contingent upon board. We don't have to go to board approval for the opening up of the interviews. Jumping ahead here. But I think it would be wise as we move forward into the latter weeks in December that potentially could we get this application open and have people start applying, so as we do hit that
Right.
new year, we can move forward with conducting those interviews, because it is a very, very, very important board, and I think we all agree that getting this as a full functional board at the onset of the new year and new term is gonna be something really important. So Pam, is that something that we can pursue in regards to opening up applications?
Yeah. Okay, I can get with
Great.
Sarah, start doing that. Okay, so
Commissioner Joliet, thank you.
I fully support opening this up for interviews and recognize the need to get qualified individuals that have a background in the civil engineering field, so I support it.
Commissioner Lubes, did you have your hand up? No, okay. So with that being said, Commissioners, it's fair to say Commissioner Gershenson makes a motion to move forward with opening up the application process for the Board of County Road Commission, seconded by Commissioner Lubes. Is there any further discussion? I think I just want to highlight what Commissioner Gershenson said and also Commissioner Joliet said in regards to, we really do need to try to do our best at seeking out individuals who do come from that strong background in engineering, because it is important, it's critical. I mean, I think we all know our roads are important to all of us in many different ways, so I do think that it is important that this board is the best of the best. So I love that we're gonna move forward with opening up applications and seeing. Is there any specific entities that commissioners would like to see this be posted in? I know in the past, we've done a variety of different outlets to make sure we're capturing individuals with a background and experiences, but is there any suggestions that anyone has? Commissioner?
Do we post on LinkedIn?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll have to ask Sarah.
Commissioner Gershon?
But what about automotive industry and actual, there are companies, there are paving, cement, slag companies that actually make the roads. So what about reaching out? I know Cadillac Asphalt, and I know there's a bunch of them. Ajax, I think, is another one. And we contract with some of them in Oakland for our campus. So I think getting the word out to those.
I think that would be an important element. I know that we historically post out to our local newspapers in regards to appointments.
Maybe we should do a press release because people don't do newspapers anymore.
We typically do, like that is a customary next step, and we do open up applications, but I definitely think it's highlighting this appointment via a news release, but also to potentially take a look at other areas that we could post this to get as many individuals within this field and realm as possible to hopefully apply. So let's follow up with this information, and hopefully we could get maybe more concrete information on if we can post out into other areas.
Our communications team does a good job of getting them out into
Absolutely.
various areas, but I will ask Sarah too, specifically.
Okay, with a motion by Commissioner Gershenson and the support of Commissioner Lubes and moving forward with applications. If there aren't any other questions or comments, please prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. That would conclude all the items under our regular agenda. So at this time, we'll move on to, I'm so sorry,
I just
Commissioner
have something
Jackson.
I just wanted to bring to our attention.
Yes.
Within the document, it says they meet every Wednesday at 2 p.m. So I think during our discussion, we said once a month, but
Are you
we
talking
ha-
road commission or
yes.
building authority?
Road Commission.
So building authority
Let me
meets
see.
once a month.
Okay, and this commission meets every Wednesday.
Yes, and that's actually why their stipend
I see.
is so much. I
Okay.
think we all know how active our road commission is. And I know that there were a few questions along the way in regards to why that stipend was so much. And let's face it, with all the appointments that this committee handles, it is the largest dollar amount. But it also is a more time committed commission. So thank you for bringing that and pointing that out, Commissioner.
So that is news to me. I believe they meet on Thursday mornings. They have their public maybe meeting, like we have a commission meeting. So maybe the committees meet every Wednesday? I'm questioning that. But it doesn't really matter, but I'm just questioning that. That's the first time I've ever seen that. And maybe they have committees like we have committees. And so I don't know. But I know for sure they meet on Thursday mornings for the public, for their commission meetings.
It does say in our documents, labeled the handbook of road commission. The very first page, it discusses the appointments of the road commission, and in fact, it does say that it does meet every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Okay.
So, but let's get some further clarification on that. And
Yeah.
just as an additional insight for, it's Andrea
Lalonde.
Lalonde and then Nancy Quarles, who also sit on this commission. With that being said, let's jump on down to the last portion of our agenda. And at this time, I'd like to open up our second public comment of this meeting this morning. So at this time, if there's individuals who would like to speak, please make your way to the head of the table and state your name and community in which you reside in. Good morning.
Good morning.
We haven't seen you in a while, Ms.
I
Kennedy.
know, I had to take a break. My family said that's enough, you gotta cool it.
Understandable. We get it, trust us. Welcome.
So, anyway, I actually am very dismayed by the fact that one, our president's coming to brag about our economy with EV, when in reality, EV destroys jobs, doesn't create them. It's not environmentally friendly, and we have a Chinese battery company that's been invited to Big Rapids at the same time as the World Economic Forum is being given millions of our tax dollars. It makes no sense. That is not American economics. It is not good for our economy, and it is going to be devastating in the end, especially when Global Detroit has forecast 125,000 new immigrants into our area. They're calling them refugees. They're not. They're here to take our jobs that are being diminished because of the inflation that's putting so much pressure on businesses. This is a catastrophe waiting to happen. So I'm very concerned, and the only time I've seen the fact that our Stellantis is pairing up with Samsung, so two foreign corporations are going to build the chips plant for Indiana, Kokomo, Indiana. This was announced on May 24th. I think that was just before Congress had announced the $280 billion of our tax money to go to CHIPS and Sciences Act. What's wrong with this picture? So in essence, American taxpayers are being taxed to the hilt so that foreigners can come invade our country, take our jobs, take our real estate. We even did the tax sale info auction of our property where foreigners only had to fill out a form and have a credit card to buy tax foreclosed property in multiple counties in our state, as well as DNR property. Major parcels. We've had a foreigner come and buy up 29,000 acres, I think, in UP to do foresting. We had another company that bought the only Michigan nickel mine. I think it was Talon, JV. I mean, this is not good. This is not economic development. This is auctioning off our assets, our businesses, and our people. And the fact that I have never given out my information to any social media company, yet both my county and state found it necessary to give my private data to a third party to create QR codes for me, my husband, and my grandchildren? Incomprehensible. This is the United States of America. This is wrong. I'm not right or left. I'm just right or wrong, and this is not okay. The economics of this county is so shaky, but they're covering it all up. How is it that every single proprietary fund in the budget for 2023 has a footnote about the budget deficit and the proposed surplus? Why is it the very front of the 2023 budget only acknowledges the 6.15% assessed value increase, when in reality, in May, it was already passed to 6.46, already in place. And extra parks already in place. The math doesn't balance. This is a real issue. And I still never got answers to 7 pages of questions that I had submitted to Ling Songquist when she was fiscal director. So apparently the citizens' questions and concerns are being ignored once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Oh, and by the way, on page of your document, you have to publish by law on page 13. All openings for Board of Commissioners appointments are to be published in the form of a press release to local newspapers of major circulation and local newspapers. So
Kennedy, I
your
love
rules-
how you are reading those board rules.
I have to. Somebody's got to read the rules.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
I keep finding surprises, though. It makes me nervous.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? Seeing that there is no one from the public who would like to speak for our second public comment, I will now close public comment. Commissioners, is there any further business to discuss? Commissioner Gershenson.
Yes, I just got a great tip from one of our listeners that we should contact SEMCOG about the road commission appointment, and that their recommendation is that we shouldn't necessarily look at road builders, but smart streets. Do you all remember when they were making recommendations on bike paths, and they were the Smart Streets organization? I think SEMCOG might have their contact information, so engaging SEMCOG would be a good idea for places to publicize a road commissioner.
I think that's great. Something tells me the vice chairperson of SEMCOG, Commissioner Markham, may have provided that insight. So, Commissioner
new
Markham,
vice
if you're
chair?
listening,
She new vice
we
chair?
appreciate your feedback and insight. So thank you. I believe so.
Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that.
Additionally, before we do end, I would like to we did get an update in regards to LinkedIn. At this time, the Board of Commissioners does not have a LinkedIn profile, so therefore
You can't post.
we can't post. However, one of the things I did some inquiry about is potentially maybe we need to change that with
Yeah.
this body specifically tasked with the appointments and the reappointments of various different boards, important boards. I think it would be wise as we move into the next term to potentially take a look at creating that profile, because I think that's another network to reach out to individuals. Commissioner.
Absolutely. I think we do need to just check with Corp Counsel to make sure that's totally fine, but I'm astounded that we're not on LinkedIn, which is such a
Oakland County
popular.
is, the Board of
Oakland Co-
Commissioners is not.
Oh, so do they post on, and would we need to be if they are?
Is there questions that we could maybe seek out additional information, or Pam, do you know any insight on that?
I know that LinkedIn has typically been for employment opportunities, so I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought.
I see, yeah. Well, let's definitely, I'm glad that we've put it out there. We'll get some more insight and information. I love the feedback too, that Commissioner Markham provided in regards to SEMCOG. I think that's a great suggestion. With that being said, Commissioners, is there any further business to discuss? Seeing none, let's adjourn at 10:53 a.m. Thank you, everyone.